Uttama Shloke
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki.
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki.
Thank you everyone for coming, and today we'll be reading from chapter 4, and today's verse is verse number 3. So you can see my screen, right? So yes. I'll just read it, and we can read it, we can repeat it. Sa eva vyam mayatedya
Savayayam
Yatedya
yoga prokta puratanaha
Yoga Puratana
bhaktosi me sakha cheti
Bhaktosi me Sakhacheti
rahasyam hyetat uttamam
Rahasyam Hitat Uttamam
sa eva vyam mayatedya
Savayayam Mayatedya
yoga prokta puratanaha
Yoga Puratana
bhaktosi me sakha cheti
Bhaktosi me Sakhacheti
rahasyam hyetat uttamam.
Rahasyam Hitat Uttamam.
I'll go read the word for word meanings, and so we can go. Sa. The same.
The same
action.
Eva. Certainly. I am. This. Maya. I, me. Te. Unto you. Adya. Today. Yoga. The science of yoga. Prokta. Spoken. Puratana. Very old. Bhakta. Devotee. Asi. You are. Me. My. Sakha. Friend. Cha. Also. Iti. Therefore. Rahasyam. Mystery. Hey. Certainly. Etat. This. Uttamam. Transcendental. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. That very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme is today told by me to you, because you are my devotee as well as my friend.
Because you are my devotee as well as my friend.
And can therefore understand the transcendental mystery of this science.
Therefore, you can understand the transcendental mystery of this science.
Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. There are two classes of men, namely devotee and demon. The Lord selected Arjuna as the recipient of this great science owing to his being a devotee of the Lord. But for demon, it's not possible to understand this great mysterious science. There are a number of editions of this great book of knowledge. Some of them have commentaries by devotees, and some of them have commentaries by the demons. Commentation by the devotee is real, whereas that of demons is useless. Arjuna accepts Sri Krishna as a supreme personality of Godhead, and any commentary on the Gita following in the footsteps of Arjuna is real devotional service to the cause of this great science. The demonic, however, do not accept Krishna as he is. Instead, they concoct something about Krishna and mislead general readers from the path of Krishna's instructions. Here is a warning to such misleading paths. One should try to follow the disciplic succession from Arjuna and thus be benefited by this great science of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sagana Raghunattam Tam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaurabhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you again, everyone, for coming, joining today. And today we're reading. This is from the chapter. It's titled, Transcendental Knowledge. And this chapter, in this chapter, Krishna explains how the Bhagavad Gita has been, given to the world or given to us. So, like, if you look at it, like in this, if you look at the verse, there's three things actually. Krishna says the three things about this verse. One is it's an ancient science of relationship with the Supreme. I mean, that's how Srila Prabhupada has translated it. Ancient science of relationship with Supreme, given only to devotee and friend. And the third thing, it is mystery. So we can actually look how it has been, like if you look at it, if you read the previous verse of the Bhagavad Gita, where Srila Prabhupada says in the purport to verse number 1, like the Gita was spoken at least 120,400,000 years ago. And whom was it first given? It was given to the sun god Vivaswan, who in turn gave it to his son Manu, and Manu gave it to his son Ishwaku, who founded the solar dynasty, and our Lord Ram comes in the dynasty of Ishwaku. So it was spread through disciplic succession, and that's something like we should understand, like why disciplic succession. We also have to take up we have to learn it in disciplic succession, or we have to learn this Gita in disciplic succession. That's why it's very important to accept a guru who is in one of the proper lineages. Like yesterday, Harikishore Prabhu explained about the 4 lineages, bona fide lineages, like the Sri Sampradaya, the Kumara Sampradaya, the Rudra Sampradaya, and the Madhava Sampradaya. And we belong to, those who follow Srila Prabhupada belong to the Madhava Sampradaya. And because after Madhavacharya, who was the prominent guru of the Madhava Sampradaya, the Madhava Sampradaya is very fortunate that the Lord himself took a position in that Sampradaya, by appearing as Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whose this appearance we're going to celebrate in like a few days, on Sunday. So we are very fortunate to be in that line. And because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in this line, and he appeared in the Gaudiya Desh. This disciplic succession which we follow is Brahma Madhava, because Brahma from Brahma, Madhava because Madhavacharya is a prominent guru who was also an incarnation of Vayu. So Brahma Madhava, Gaudiya because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was like from West Bengal. Bengal is also known as the God Desh. God, that's why it's we call our Sampradaya the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. I'm sure you know all this, but I'm just just good to repeat it, and reinforce that point. So that's the reason. So you can see it's like very ancient, but it was again spoken 5,000 years ago, and it comes in disciplic succession. And I'll just go over before we get to why it is important to learn in disciplic succession. Like there are, if you think about it, there are two ways of receiving knowledge. One is called the ascending process, and then we have the descending process. The ascending process in Sanskrit is called the Arohana Pant, and the descending process is called Avarohana. So what is Aroha is like, you are trying to learn it yourself. You make your own efforts and try to go, go upwards. So in a way, you try to make, you observe things, you make your experiments, and then you come to certain conclusions. And based on those conclusions, you go and learn more, and you try to gather more and more information. And this is typically what scientists and others do. They conduct their own experiments. It's mostly it's trial and error. Sometimes you may succeed, sometimes you may not succeed. It's a very hard process. And there are two ways of doing it. One is called it's called Pratyaksha Praman, and the other one is Anuman Praman. So Pratyaksha is you use your senses to perceive things. It's also called, in English, it's called the inductive method of learning. And then based on those, whatever whatever you hear or whatever, you infer from your senses, you make your own conclusion, or you make your own Anumana or Anuman Praman. So, and you infer about that. But unfortunately, that is a very bad way of learning, because first of all, it's very hard. You have to spend a lot of time, doing a lot of research and everything. Then you might understand something. But again, the chances are you will actually make a lot of mistakes, because first of all, our senses, through which we actually see things or we perceive things, are all faulty. Example, we can only see a range of colors. We don't know what is beyond those ranges. Again, we can only see sounds between certain frequency. And so if something is of a higher frequency, we don't hear it. Or something is below lower frequency, we don't hear it. Dogs, the senses of dogs, the hearing of dogs and or the smell of dog is much better than human. So that's why when you have any let's say some natural catastrophe about to happen, dogs and other animals like horses and a lot of animals, they can actually sense it coming, and they feel it. That's why if there's an earthquake happening or something, the dogs and cats and all appear very restless. They start barking and mewing. So all these things happen. And they said about 15 years ago, there was a tsunami, and it kind of came and it affected South India, mostly around east coast of India. All the animals which were loose, were not tied, actually escaped. They all went away. They went to higher grounds, and they were able to. And humans, they have no sense of they're the ones who died. So you can see animals have a better sense than humans. So it's very possible we could go wrong. The other thing is we are prone to illusion. We see a lot of things which are actually not there. Example would be in a desert, we see a mirage. We think there's water. We go, there is no water. It's just sand. It's just because of our senses again playing tricks on us. So we think so. And again, some people who are like schizophrenic, they see things which are like kind of illusion, so you don't know it's an illusion. And other thing is like sometimes human beings have the sense of like they have this propensity to cheat just to appear better than other people. We might say something, we might fix data. And like, a few years ago, like there was this big controversy about climate change. And they were saying like the scientists who were really enthusiastic to say like climate change was happening, they actually, they just moved a little data here and there. So it kind of appeared like, was going to be very dangerous. I don't know if climate change theory is true or no. It's still, people say it's true, so we have to believe it. But anyway, they're trying to like, they were accused of cheating, like, even though they were like very, like well-known scientists, and they had very good reputation. They were accused of cheating. So human beings, in whatever position he may be, when it comes to like, his sometimes are very selfish, and they might do a lot of things. So we should, so if you try to learn things by yourself and present data, there are a lot of mistakes going on that, there. And again, other thing is like, there is a chance of making genuine mistakes. Human beings are like very, human beings are like, just as because we are imperfect beings, it's not necessary like we might do everything properly. So that way of learning is like, it's not suggested by the acharyas. Instead, what they suggest the Avarohana Pantha, or the descending process, where you actually hear from, like an authorized source, or like in this case, when we are reading the scriptures from divine source, and that's called that way of learning is called Shabda Praman. So we are hearing Shabda or sound. So the advantage of this is like listed out here. You receive knowledge from authoritative source that is perfect. If the program guide, like it's an example, if you receive a program guide from radio station authorities, you accept it, you don't deny it. You don't have to make an experiment because it is received from an authoritative source. And another example would be like if you go to learn something like in university or college, like somebody has like a very learned professor, any subject, whatever. Let's say, for example, physics. Like instead of you trying to read all the books yourself, trying to conduct your own experiments, instead you go just because he's already done everything, he's learned everything, he knows everything. So you just learn it from him, and he explains things to you. It becomes so much more easier. Similarly, Vedic knowledge, Shruti is authentic. That is not written by any human, a Purishaya, and comes through descending process. That through an unbroken chain of disciplic succession, starting from Krishna. So, like, we can say like how Krishna explains, he spoke it to Vivaswan to Manu to Ishvaku, and it was given to a chain of, devotee kings. But at one point, it was actually lost because, maybe there was some period of irreligion or whatever, we don't know. Anyway, like whenever, like, whenever there is a religion, Sri Krishna appears, like, yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharatah. So he comes, he descends, and he gives the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. So it can be like it can be given to all of us. And then in this case, he chose Arjuna. And why did he choose Arjuna? Because of two things. Arjuna was like, what was it? He was a Sakha or a mitra. And what is a mitra? A Sakha or a mitra is somebody who actually thinks for your benefit. We all have friends, we all think we have friends. But who is a real friend? A real friend is like somebody who will who will be a well-wisher. Somebody who comes to a bar with you, or like, takes you to a restaurant where you kind of enjoy sense gratification. He is he might be a friend, of course, but he doesn't know any better. But if he really knows what is good for you, he won't take you to those places. They are not, then, and somebody takes you just like that is not a real friend. What will your real friend do? He'll look for your, like, he'll be a well-wisher. Remember, Srila Prabhupada would always sign all his letters like, your well-wisher, Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada was genuinely our friend, and besides being our guru, or he was genuinely desired our well-being. So same way, like a mitra is somebody who desires your well-being. So here you can see Krishna is calling Arjuna his mitra. In other words, like he desires his genuine well-being. Other thing was Arjuna was a devotee. You can see like in the beginning of like the second chapter, Arjuna surrenders to Krishna, and take Krishna, you explain me. He's willing to learn from Krishna, or like he accepts a subordinate position and willing to learn from Krishna. And his mood is that of like, even though he's like accepting Krishna as his teacher, his mood is that of a sakha. And we can see like we have all these different like rasas or bhavas by which we can relate ourselves to Krishna. And these things are right now, we may not know like, what bhava or what rasa we have, because we are still in the first few steps of our devotional service. We're just babies there. So eventually, like if you try to cultivate devotional service, it will eventually dawn upon you what kind of relationship you have. Then the different bhavas are mentioned are like Shanta bhav, adoring God as a king, or like Srila Prabhupada describes it as awe and reverence. An example given of somebody who has that kind of relationship with in the scriptures is Vidura, who's like has that kind of relationship with Krishna, one of awe and reverence. Then there is a dasya bhav, where there is sentiment of servitude towards God as our master. An example given that is Hanuman. Sakhya bhav, and we have an example Arjuna who has a Sakhya bhav. And we have Vatsalya bhav. Vatsalya bhav, examples of Vatsalya bhav are like Nanda Baba and Yashoda, or Devaki and Vasudev. They are all examples of like where they consider Krishna as a child, and they want to do everything. They want to do devotional service, considering Krishna as a child. And then the last, and which is the Madhurya bhav. A lot of people, Madhurya, where you're in actually worshiping God in a state of like in a conjugal, or you think of God as like a soul beloved, or like, so that's supposed to be the highest or the most intimate bhava. But don't like considering where we are, any of these bhavas would be as good, like we're nowhere. So, and again, it's natural. Each of these bhavas come according to one's propensity. So there's nothing like when you go to Golok Vrindavan, you might be serving Krishna like sometimes you don't know, as a piece of grass where Krishna will be stepping on you. But when Krishna steps on you, it'll bring you like ultimate pleasure. It's not like somebody trying to like press you or oppress you or something. It's like stepping on you. It'll be like giving you pleasure when Krishna steps on you. Or you could be a little flower which Krishna is smelling. So in Golok Vrindavan, we could have any of those forms just to please Krishna. Lucky are the ones who have the Madhurya bhav, but don't worry about like what bhav we have. Any bhav is good. So here we go back to this. Krishna is explaining this knowledge to Arjuna because he's a sakha, or he's a friend. And then the third thing we come is like it is a mystery. So why is it a mystery? Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, like the two kinds of people. One are devotees, another are demons. But for the demon, it's not understand this great mysterious science. So it's actually a secret. So somebody, there are like, a lot of Mayavad philosophers, like who try to, like, for example, Dr. Radhakrishnan. Actually, Srila Prabhupada, when he first came to the US, he didn't really have his own Bhagavad Gita. So he had actually got Dr. Radhakrishnan's Bhagavad Gita, and but he was not happy teaching from there. He would probably just use the Sanskrit verses and not go through the commentary or anything. So some are commentaries written by devotees, and some are commentaries written by demons. Commentation by the devotee is real, whereas those of demons is useless. Arjuna accepts Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Any commentary of the Gita following the footsteps of Arjuna is real devotional service to the cause of this great science. And why is that, like, you shouldn't actually give this, Arjuna doesn't want the demons to know about this, but because even if they get the knowledge, they're going to use it in the wrong way. We have seen, like, another example is like that the person who found this transcendental meditation, I think his name was some yogi, Mahesh Yogi or something. He tried to translate the Bhagavad Gita, but he didn't have he didn't know what devotion was, bhakti. He tried, so all he could get was to the first 6 chapters. So he wrote like Karma Yoga. So he wrote a book called Karma Yoga, first 6 chapters, and that's it. He couldn't go beyond that, because beyond that is like the bhakti section. When it came to that, he had no clue what. And somewhere else, somebody will write like, the Kal Purush was speaking to Krishna, was speaking to us through Krishna. I don't know what this Kal Purush means, but they don't know Kal Purush is Krishna himself. So, a lot of misconceptions out there. So if those, we read that kind of Bhagavad Gita, we are going to misunderstand. We'll go somewhere else. It's a wholly a different tangent. Other thing is like the Mayavadis, like they will interpret it in such a way that they make you think like all this devotional service was only meant, to the point where you actually merge into Krishna and become one with him. That's again not true. Like, like what is Sanatan? Sanatan means Sanatan Dharma is like what? To serve Krishna eternally, or devotional service that's kind of eternal. It's not that it ends, once you get into that point where like, you merge, and then, so that's not, even if you get to that point, you eventually fall down. So Krishna is Sanatan, this Gita is Sanatana, our devotional service, we are Sanatan, and our devotional service is also Sanatan. All this is part of Sanatan Dharma, or everlasting religion. So if this secret is given to the non-devotees, they'll make light of it, and they will explain to others in a way, it's taken as kind of mockery. Like some other thing I was reading was somebody was saying like, now there are no wars, so there's no point in having the Bhagavad Gita, and so instead somebody gave something called the Anu Gita. I don't know what Anu Gita is. Maybe someone else can explain. Anyway, so a lot of misconceptions out there. So because of that reason, like, this, what does Krishna say again, like about to whom Bhagavad Gita, to whom we should explain the Bhagavad Gita? Like it's chapter 16, verse number 67. This confidential knowledge of may not be explained to those who are not austere, not devoted, or engaged in devotional service, or to one who is envious of me. So somebody who's envious of Krishna will never understand the knowledge. Like when an example would be like when Krishna showed his universal form in the court of Duryodhana, only very few people saw the universal form. Others just saw some lightning and thunder, and they were all like bewildered. They didn't know what was happening. But very few people who were devoted, Krishna showed his like universal form. He showed it to Yashoda like twice. He showed it to like Arjuna once. He showed it in the court of Duryodhana. Then other time he showed to a sannyasi called Uttanka. So the 5 times he showed his universal form. But it's only it's revealed to the devotees. So same thing, like this knowledge is also shown only to the devotees, because the demons don't understand it. They'll make light of it. So because of that, because of that, this should never be like, we should also be careful, like when we are preaching, like, whom we are, like somebody who's very envious of Krishna, we should never tell them this knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita. But somebody is a devotee or willing to listen. If you explain this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita to him, it's actually you're worshiping Krishna with his intelligence. And in the next verse, verse 68 of chapter 18, he says, and these verses come after, like, Sarva Dharmam Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. So this is after. For one who explains the supreme secret to devotees, devotional service is guaranteed. And at the end, he'll come back to me. So see, Krishna is giving us an assurance, like, like devotional service is guaranteed. So we are here today gathered, to like enlightening each other of the Bhagavad Gita. So that way, like in a way, like we might not be doing it completely in a very pure. Our understanding of the Bhagavad Gita may not be complete because we have still so many anarthas in us, but we are trying. Like each time you read the Bhagavad Gita, you go over it, same verse, and you read Srila Prabhupada's, you get a deeper understanding of it. So that shows, like, there is purity, and you yourself are being purified. So I will conclude here. So what I want to conclude is saying, like, this knowledge, just like Arjuna gave it to his friend and devotee, we should pass it to somebody who is like appreciative of Krishna, who looks favorably at Krishna, and not somebody who's envious. So in that way, it invalidates all the commentaries written by non-devotees, like Dr. Radha Krishnan, or like any Mayavad sannyasi, or some random philosopher who just wants to make some quick buck out of it, thinking or not. So I'll end here, and we can have any kind of discussion or anything. Anybody, any realization?
Yeah, thank you so much, Fuji, for a wonderful class. Devotees, please open up anything you want to ask questions or any reflections, any comments, concerns. Please go ahead. Nothing to add? Seems everything was very clear and understood very well. No doubts at all. And have some reflections if there are no questions. Your realizations. Why so quiet? The word is, this is not a material world, this is a spiritual. We should have 1,000 mouths to speak. You should be as quiet in the material concepts of life or material world, but you should open your mouth. You should have 1,000 mouths to speak about the Supreme. You should be eager for the opportunity to speak. So everybody can unmute, right?
Can everybody hear Prabhuji?
Yeah. So, Vibhor, I just made ask everybody to unmute. Yeah. Everybody can speak now. I think many devotees are muted. always encouraging the speaker. It's also encouraging others to have discussions so that we share the knowledge to each other. That's a forum. It's not that just, one person spoke, everybody else heard, just go away and just forget it. That's not the way. Just we have this opportunity, the forum, which we can share, we can discuss, so many. That's a platform.
It's like Ekadashi, fasting, no energy to speak.
Yeah, yeah.
Everyone is quiet and the silence is getting to be a little unsettling. So silence is golden, but in this case it's getting heavy. So anyway, I'll share something what Subala Prabhu said about a devotee and not talking or not sharing your realizations or you're in a company of those who are envious. So it so happened several years ago. And there are many layers of lessons that we can learn from this. There was a family function and somebody's wedding. And before wedding, there is all sorts of get together, sangeet, this, that, and all that. So, of course, in the material world, there is, what they call daru sharu. Somehow people can't seem to have a good time without alcohol. That must be there. And whenever alcohol is there, people's hearts burst with joy. Arey, daru sharu. And with great pride, it is ki daru sharu. So anyway, that was going, and whenever you take any chemicals in your body, it alters your brain chemistry. So people get boisterous and, all these things, jolly, some people go into depression, aggressive. And what happens is that, a Vaishnava is supposed to be humble. And people sometimes look at this humility as a sign of weakness, but actually humility is a great strength. It's from a position of strength, knowing who you are. That's what humility is. So, but people think that a humble person is meek, and wherever it's meek, the material thing is to usko niche dabao. So everyone in the family knows my mother is Hare Krishna. So when all that Shor Sharaba was going on, she was sitting quietly, sitting in midst of everything and doing a japa. So some distant relative, he picked up an argument, thinking he's and my mother's personality is such that she's very easygoing, extremely easygoing. He says, Auntie ji, कि आप इतना सब भक्ति करते हैं, but it is all hypocrisy, all hypocrisy. So my mother just smiled, okay, whatever you think. Don't get into an argument. But he kept goading. He's saying, तुम्हारा कृष्णा देखो, he's a playboy. वो रासलीला कृष्णा जब 16,000 औरतों से शादी किए, फिर भी he wasn't satisfied. Married 16,000 women, he wasn't satisfied. He does Raslila with all the gopis. So when Krishna does all this, it is called Raslila. And if I look at just one other woman, it is called debauchery. So he was comparing himself. And my mom just flew out of the sofa and yelled at him to, shut up. And everyone got taken aback, like, Krishna auntie is doing this. So she's saying, do you even know what you're speaking of? You're trying to compare yourself with Krishna. Yes, you have no concept of what Ras Leela is. You're just comparing it to what you have an understanding of Ras Leela. If you think about Ras Leela and you're comparing yourself, Krishna lifted the Govardhan on one little finger when he was 7 years old. You try lifting this chair with both your hands above your head and then talk about Ras Leela. So that person got shut up. And the lessons which, at least for me, what I learned from this is a Vaishnava will tolerate whatever level of insults directed towards him or her. However, when anything is to another devotee or to Krishna or his devotees, then that Vaishnava becomes like a lion. He won't. So humility is not something where we keep. So she does this, her seva, as she does storytelling, but she always sees that the audience to whom she speaks is, people who are receptive. And if there is someone who there's no point in getting into an argument. People will try to draw you into an argument. Of course, you can defeat any argument, literally any argument, whether on a scientific basis, anything emotional could be defeated. But people don't engage in a conversation with you, the envious people, to learn. They do it to defeat so that it could feed their egos. That's why there's this instruction that do not share or even discuss it. It further makes the person commits more aparad and he further sinks in the material world. So this is, I hope this has broken the ice and people can share their experiences. Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Thank you. Very good.
Anybody else has anything to add? Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I just had a question, thank you for sharing, Prabhuji. When this question, I have heard from somebody that I know also about Ras Leela, or Radharani being married and why, she used to go see Krishna. So what do you, what we are understanding these things on a spiritual platform, our thinking is different. But how do you explain these things to a materialistic person who thinks like this drunkard Prabhuji was talking about? How do you clarify these things? Because the thinking is so low, how to explain these things? Because these questions do arise, when you are, I have encountered such questions myself from people. So what kind of explanation do you give to them? Because their thinking is not at that level. Whoever, can answer, it's fine. Subodh Prabhu, Sumeshwar Prabhu, whoever. Amritanand Prabhu.
Amritananda Prabhu, can you, or Sumeshwar Prabhu, can you go ahead and answer it? I mean, I have my thoughts on it, but
Please go ahead.
No, mine is very, it's it's probably not a very good answer, but I would think such people are they have no proper knowledge. If they're willing to listen to us, we tell them to start chanting, and chanting actually purifies their mind, and then try to give them the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. If they're if they're not there to argue, like you said, but if they're there to argue, we just give them prasadam. So maybe for the love of prasadam, they may come back to us, and then then get purified, and then then the process might start. Otherwise, it's just plain offensive. We try to avoid that. I mean, that's the way I would. Prabhu, you want to answer?
Mataji, the first you asked, how do you answer such people, or how do you clarify, or whatever? It is in a social setting, we have to be very careful about what is that social transaction? It could be a senior who is in an aggressive combative mode, or just envious. It could be a peer or it could be a junior. So it would depend what is the social uh, transaction or that relation that we're having with the person. So the principle remains to avoid discussing, but they'll keep goading you. Nahi, batao, whatever it is. How come it is like this? How come it is like that? So typically, what I respond to a question is with a question personally. So if someone asks me, Krishna is doing this Ras Leela and Radharani is married, isn't that cheating on a husband? And they're supposed to be purity, spirituality, and all that arguments will come forward. So as what I will tell is in such a situation is, yes, it can be explained, but what will that answer mean to you? The answer that I give you, what difference will it make to you? Will it change your life in any way? Will you start doing things differently? Suppose it is completely opposite of what you expect it to be, or it is exactly what you're saying it is. What difference will it make to you? So the person, most of the time, they start thinking of what difference it is, and it kind of diffuses. And again, the tone has to be in a very conversational way, because it's not just what we say, it's how we say it. Maybe internally we are seething. Like this example which I gave you, my mother exploded on that person. Of course, he was a junior, like a relation of mother and son, like that. So she could chastise him in a public setting. But if it was a senior person who asks you this, it won't be, I personally won't chastise a senior person, even if he or she is wrong. One lady, I had gone, my Savita's very good friend, they are from this Brahma Kumari, a mother-in-law, and a mother-in-law is like those typical Hindi film mother-in-laws, the tyrant, very dominating, and she knows that I do Hare Krishna. And she called us over for dinner. When there, they know no onion, garlic, and all that. The first thing when I entered, I literally put one foot inside the door, and sitting on the other side on the couch, she yells at me, "Hey, तुम्हारा कृष्णा कुछ भगवान भगवान नहीं है," in a very loud and angry tone. And I'm first time meeting her. She saying, "Hey, तुम्हारा कृष्णा कोई भगवान भगवान नहीं है. ये सब ढोंग है, ढोंग. This is all fake." So I said, "Acha." I folded my hands. I said, "Namaste." फिर भगवान कौन है? So then she's saying, भगवान शिवा है, वो बिंदु शक्ति है. Like a small bindu is like a small dot. शक्ति है. वो शिवा है, वो भगवान बिंदु शक्ति है. I said, ठीक है, ये आपने obviously have learned it from somewhere. कौन से किताब में आपने पढ़ा है? ये भगवद गीता में तो नहीं लिखा है, रामायण में नहीं है. The popular ones which people know, you say Garud Puran and all, 99 people won't know out of 100 what is Garud Puran. So she's saying, हाँ, शिव जी जो हैं, दुनिया जानती है शिव जी कौन है. So I said, फिर आपको पता होगा कि शिव जी सबसे बड़े वैष्णव हैं, भक्त हैं. तो वो किनके भक्त है? अगर वो भगवान है, वो किनके भक्त है? So she sat and she blinked eyes, and then she was thinking, and she kind of, it got diffused. So what I'm trying to tell Mataji is that, with an elder person, I won't enter into that kind of argument and all. And then ठीक है, आप खुश हो, आप जो कर रहे हो, मेरे को ये सकून देता है, मैं इसमें खुश हूँ, right or wrong, and leave it at that. They may even go to, oh, you're a fool, you're wasting your time, you're this, that, and I'll say, yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Motherji. Yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
One thing actually we need to, I think it's both the points are very valid. And one thing we need to always remember, and whom should we answer, and whom we should not answer these kinds of questions. Srila Prabhupada says that if somebody blaspheming the scriptures and the Lord, and the same way the challenging and blasphemy, the hearer as a devotee should not just go blindly and hear anything and just go away. In the nectar of instructions, Prabhupada put in the purport that if somebody is doing like that, that's we are offending our Lord, offending the scriptures. And we should, I mean, if you are not by our knowledge defeated that person or explained the validity of everything to that person, that is our responsibility to do so. Otherwise, it's mentioned that we should commit suicide because of we are hearing this blasphemy, we are also incurred sins, right? It's mentioned that. So, I mean, we should not go that extent, but we should be very clear on whom we should reply and whom should we address these facts very clearly. Like somebody is challenging, we should definitely answer no matter what, so that they would so the devotee should be prepared for it. Second thing, if somebody is ignorant, that means we know that he cannot understand and he is not going to listen to us, he may blaspheme or things like that. So better we should not speak to any spiritual matters to those people. Even Hare Krishna Mahamantra, it is an offense to give this to the unfaithful person or those who are not believers. It's an offense because of they make the offense, we are responsible for that. So we should try to avoid those situations first of all. Second thing, if somebody coming challenging, in the case of Mridhananda Prabhu explained that somebody just simply come and blasphemy, and we should not just go away simply hearing that. We should definitely give the response in such a way that they should understand what it's all about. So exactly, yes, we should be prepared with our knowledge, right? For example, the Mataji gives Krishna, has, many consorts, and why did Krishna do all those things? We do have the answer for that, isn't it? Srila Prabhupada many times quotes this. Then we can ask this. If Krishna is not the Bhagavan, is the Lord, and if you think that you are the Lord, many people say that I am Lord, why everybody, even Lord should behave according to my plan, Lord should behave according to me, that what I am doing is Lord should do. This is our mentality. So we should definitely say, Krishna raised the Govardhan, can you do that? Krishna did so many things. Krishna, can you do this? So then according to our scripture, right? So we can say, Lord, so many things. Krishna showed the universal form to Arjuna. Not only that, you are just picking one topic of everything out of context, and you are just saying about it. Do you know what is Bhagavad Gita? Have you read about it? So go and read. You have to quote these points. Krishna showed universal form to Mother Yashoda, universal form to Arjuna. And if you believe that, you should also believe this, right? How is that possible? Krishna could show the entire everything within his body, and then many times we say that, sometimes we say, Srila Prabhupada says this one, many times we say that he is the thief. But actually everything, Srila Prabhupada says, everything is Krishna's property. We are the thief. So everything is property. Everything is his property, including everybody. Then how can you say that? Because of this is Krishna's mercy that is all happening. So yeah, we can say, like that, so many examples, so many points. So we should definitely answer to those. So I think we know it, but what we say because of humility, or we don't want to say anything because of what they feel, in all those things we never open up. So, but we know the answer, isn't it?
Prabhu, I think there are two aspects to this, what you're saying. So what you're saying is right. But at the same time, the practical application, and there are different people at different stages of realization and knowledge. So suppose if there is a new person who has just started his or her journey on bhakti, Krishna consciousness, someone is just, and because if you're, especially if a grasti gets exposed to a lot of challenging situations, and it can't just be cut off. You can't cut off with, of course, a sannyasi and brahmacharis, they are kind of little bit cloistered. Even a sannyasi goes out and does pravachan, it was 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour program, and then it's back here. But for a grahasti, as many balls are being juggled in the air. So it can't be in a situation where cut off. So what personally, my personal experiences, and then also seeing how other Vaishnavas also behave, like our gurus, Prabhupada's disciples, when they are in forums with religious leaders where they have these interfaith meetings, forums, where they have Mayavadis who come and say the complete opposite, literally complete opposite of whatever we are learning, and how they behave over there, and how they respond. So I think that becomes a little bit more instructive, Prabhu. Otherwise, what can happen is I personally see this as the instruction is, Prabhu, ki you be strong in what you're doing. And if someone is coming and trying to convince you and getting into, nobody wins arguments. That's the way it is. Nobody wins arguments. You can't really defeat somebody. The only person you could defeat is a person who has an open mind. And with the same yardstick, even if I have an open mind, then I should be ready to be defeated.
That
And
is
I
not,
should be.
Prabhuji, I think it's not the point of defeat. What Srila Prabhupada's point is that we should not go blindly, just hearing what they said. We should definitely give a response in a proper way. So
How
that
would a neophyte do a response, Prabhu? There's a
so
neophyte
that's
and he gets in the same situation which I got. Like
yeah.
that
So
Mataji said, yelled, Krishna is
right,
not
right.
God.
So that's the art of preaching. That's the art of preaching. Srila Prabhupada says that as a neophyte devotee comes to the temple, they ask this question. I mean, they are open, they are willing to listen to such a topic. Some neophyte devotees. So in this case, like neophyte devotees may not understand how Krishna is reciprocating with his devotees. They may not. So Srila Prabhupada gives that, kind of, if they ask such questions, we can direct them, okay, read this Bhagavad Gita first.
So,
Or
Prabhu, I'm saying a neophyte devotee in a family setting. Like he's been invited to someone's home and like how that Mataji yelled,
yeah,
Krishna is not God.
right.
Now, he doesn't have enough knowledge to say that Shiva is a Vaishnava. He's just heard Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, and when he's encountered with such a, and these things do happen. They happen. It's not that I'm not saying a neophyte coming in the temple and asking a question. I'm saying a neophyte goes outside. So, and somebody is blaspheming Krishna. Someone is blaspheming Prabhupada. You go
Right.
to the internet. There's so much nonsense over there.
Yeah, right. So the case of neophyte, I mean, neophyte in the sense that is, neophyte, as per the Srila Prabhupada, one should learn the scripture, one should chant the holy name, purify himself first, right? So he is not considered as a preacher, as a neophyte, is not considered as a preacher or to educate others self or something like that. But the question is, Mataji's question, if somebody is actually prepared in the sense that, okay, somebody come and ask, oh, you are there in the temple. Yes, we may be neophyte, but at least, 4 years we are initiated. We go through these teachings and, we have obligations to our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, because of even though we are neophyte, we are not that bottom level that we don't know anything. So, like a person as a neophyte, yes, he should reply whatever he knows, and the same time, he should not take anything, and give association, but not take association, and just whatever the way he can explain, he explain to them, and just come out, right? And that's the way. And so neophyte is not supposed to encounter, or neophyte is not supposed to give any kind of this situation. So he should definitely and politely or whatever the way. So, but as a devotee, as we are claimed to be a devotee, those who are initiated, those who are serious, and those who are serving the movement for quite a number of years, and those devotees are serious devotees. They are called Madhyamadhikaris, not Uttamadhikari. That Srila Prabhupada gives in the scripture that Madhyamadhikari is well versed with the scriptures, and he is not challenged. He is not what is called changed by anybody else's opinion. But Kanishta Adhikaris can change. If somebody comes and talks you something about Kanishta Adhikari can change. That means he can go with that knowledge. He can go. He has not steady in his knowledge. But on the other hand, Madhyama Adhikari is steady with his knowledge. Nobody can challenge, nobody can change his belief. Nobody can change his determination. Nobody can change his faith. So basically, that's why these adhikaris comes, Kanishta or Madhyama adhikari can start to preach. Or Uttama adhikari is, there is no words to go again further to that, right? So as a people, as a person, as a devotee we are, yes, there are situations we know that Kanishta Adhikari, yes, I mean, as what he is understood, or he direct those questions to a Madhyama Adhikari or an Uttama Adhikari, he should say that, okay, I would consult this with my spiritual master, Uttama Adhikari, or my seniors, or Madhyama Adhikari, and I'll get back to you. Or I can, or I will give this number, or I will give this contact. Can you please contact this person, or you can get the right answer, right? If that is a person, that's a situation where a person can, somebody is there very arrogant, challenging, and blaspheming, kind of what is called taking the advantage of it. I mean, that we don't need to worry about, because of, we just need to pray to the Lord will actually give the answer for such people, because of that arrogance, false ego, and all, because of we are not saying it, because of Krishna is always there with the devotees. But we also have a responsibility as a devotee if something comes up like that. So many times we go for book distribution. So many people comes like that. Impersonalist comes, new people comes, some other beliefs like, various other types of beliefs, right? Shakti or Shiva or Brahma Kumaris. We many times we came and this, this what is called this Isha Foundations people. So many people will come and they say, yeah, it's all fine. Yes, but we give the courts Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, so they understand. But there are really nasty people out there. So we don't need to. But if they are coming and challenging, one time we went to the Mercer County Park. One Prabhuji came and asked the same question. Mataji asked this question. Why Krishna? So he was from Punjab, and he doesn't, I think he believes in something, but he doesn't believe in, scriptures. He just came and asked how Krishna can do this. So we were telling this fact, all these things, still doesn't believe, right? Then one devotee was with us. He was really, if you want to listen to this and understand, go and read scriptures and understand in a greater detail. If you are just putting your own, arguments together, and you don't want to listen, then just go away. We don't have much time. So likes that. So it happens. That's why we should see things how this person is and what kind of question he is asking. Is it challenging or kind of blaspheming or things like that? If he's really blaspheming, and then we should definitely give some reply so that we just won't take that. Otherwise we are hearing that in our ears. Blasphemy should not just leave it like that. We should give some way or other some reply of to convince, or not convince, to give that, to counteract.
What happens if the blasphemy is with a person in position of authority or a person who's a loved one?
Blasphemy of a person of authority? I didn't get your
A person in a position of authority is blaspheming. And, to give this reply, I can understand this Mercer County, he's a stranger. So there is not much loss or anything. But when there is something to lose, you have something to lose. It could either be a relationship, or let's say your boss is doing the blasphemy. Then and you are a Madhyam Adhikari. You're initiated, you have a good understanding of the philosophy. then how do you respond in such a situation? If you go back and tell that person something, what I'm trying to say is at times um, you have to keep your mouth shut. Of course, don't let it bring doubts in your mind. And if it does create a doubt, go and talk to another Vaishnava, someone whom you can confide in, someone whom you trust, and he or she would be able to guide you properly. But there are times when you just have to keep your mouth shut. Otherwise, it is more. Atheism is the fastest growing school of thought, faster than Islam, which is the most rapidly growing. So there are these things happen. Will I give up my job? Will I, if there is a relationship with a person and that relationship is intimate, and then that person starts blaspheming, will I kick him out or kick her out? So it's a very sticky situation, no?
Yeah, it's actually, yes. I mean, we know that some situations like husband and wife even. Some husband, they don't believe, but wife, very strong devotee. How do we deal with it? Yes, relationship is there. If the relationship is genuine, that person maintains it. I mean, we know that so many people in our temple, the husband doesn't believe, but they goes through. They just pass through, just goes through because of they respect others' value. Exactly like that. This is nonsense, right? If somebody we say in relationship and taking advantage or just forcing that should, that's nonsense. Like that, if a boss is, if we have, there is a respect, there is an intimate relationship, then definitely that person should respect others' values, others' belief, and everything. And if the person doesn't do that, then he's a number one stupid. He's number one nonsense person. So then we should think that such a relationship is fruitful, such relationship is healthy, such relationship.
Would it come to a point of even divorcing? Because this is a very, very sensitive and important topic. And there have been many cases where, and I'm not saying husband, wife, it could be mother-in-law, daughter-in-law, it could be sister-in-law, brother-in-law, whatever, some transaction. Because a grasti is an integral part of everything. And for that grasti, male or female, the living conditions is there is bhakti, and that's what you have to be solid with. But then how that transactions happen with everyone to maintain it, and I'm not saying you compromise it, that's not at all my statement. That's not what is the thing. There are times you have to just keep your mouth shut and fine, this works for me, I'm what I'm doing. So that becomes, and the only yardstick is to see how the seniors behave. Like there was one when the GBC had a meeting with the Ritvik people who broke away, and they came up with their own philosophy. It is completely wrong, and a lot of blaspheming and all that, Vaishnava Prad and all that was going on. So in the GBC meeting, it was very heated, everything. Tempers were at a high stage. I won't take names. So one of the Ritvik leaders, one of the gurus of ISKCON, he got angry and he expressed his anger because what this person was saying is nonsense and blasphemy. So the Ritvik leader, in a very sarcastic way, said that, oh, you're Goswami, you're Swami, controller of your senses, you can't control your anger. How is it ever we are going to see face to face? Something like that. So immediately this sannyasi offered his obeisance to that other the Ritvik person who had completely, of course, now, in a sense, both are Vaishnavas, so that's not an issue. But how I'm seeing this is that I don't know, Prabhu. This is a very interesting topic.
The
Injunction and then implementation of injunction.
Yeah, our scripture is very clear, Prabhuji. See this, Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Prabhupada, asangatyaga. It's very important. Even though we are grihastha, that doesn't mean that we should go and take everything from everybody. No, we should have that's called ashram. Ashram has rules and regulations. Ashram has responsibilities. Ashram has, even the grihastha means we work and everything. Yes, nice. I mean, we also should be at the same time, should not be like stupid and, go and create such situations. Should be always careful. And that's what is Srila Prabhupada mentioned, that devotee means intelligent. Buddha, one who is enlightened, one who is intelligent. So we should avoid those kinds of situations, first of all. Second thing is actually something comes up like that, as like a fool, we should not also turn back like that. We should give that properly, appropriate way. It's also circumstantial, time, place, and circumstances. If depends on the situation, whom you speak, and how it comes up. It's all the devotee should understand. Devotee should come up to that level, right? So then he can give the proper way of answer like that. Of course, once we go all this as in the grihastha level of it. Second thing, the anger concept says, Srila Prabhupada mentioned that because of I always admire and take Srila Prabhupada as a complete authority of all our everything, because of Srila Prabhupada's thought and the level of consciousness. It's not even here in this material world. Whatever Srila Prabhupada says is appropriate and 100% is working, and it's very proper. Srila Prabhupada said that is anger, even if anger is there, that's a fact. Then somebody asked the question, where should I apply this anger? Anger is there. Yes, not that to the, if somebody, like for example, Srila Prabhupada gave an example of Hanumanji. Hanumanji is a pure devotee of the Lord. And when the Ravan is blasphemed and did the atrocities and all these, bad things to Mother Sita, Hanuman got so angry and burned the Lanka. So Srila Prabhupada says that we should utilize the anger even for the service of the Lord. So this is the way. If somebody is, that doesn't mean that we should be humble and humble and just come back. No, we should also properly use our anger for the service of the Lord. If the anger, that will also become devotional service. That becomes service to the Lord. So anger should be utilized in a proper way, so that it never actually that we as a warrior, we as a soldier of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as a devotee, all are here as a responsibility to upkeep this. Somebody come up with that. If some people come and again attacking us in the Mayapur, when the dacoits came and attacked the deity and Jabada Maharaj and that time, and they had to take the gun to shoot them back, to protect the deities. That's the way they protect the deities.
I think it's getting mixed. I don't know. We're already almost 8:30, but
Yeah.
this is
No,
with
what
people
I'm
whom you have
saying,
relations, not a stranger who's attacking you, or like that Prabhu who came to the bookstall in Mercer Park. These are people where there is a connection, and that connection, and of course, humility doesn't mean that you're a pushover.
yeah.
But the situation of handling the situation, that is the crux of the matter. And like what you rightly said, time, place, and circumstances.
Yep.
And but yeah, it's a point which is, and most of us here are grastis. 99%, I think.
Somebody understand it in relationship. If somebody we say the things correct, sometimes many times there is this little discussions and our arguments comes up, and if we put properly, and if sometimes we may not know the answer properly, then we should guide that. Okay, I will consult this with the senior devotees, and I'll get back to you.
Correct.
Right? Or just direct them to this. Okay, if you are genuine person. But if somebody is just in relationship, just come and just challenging and just for time pass, just go away. Just just don't listen to those things, because of it's a relationship matter, like children or husband or wife or relatives or somebody, because that's a relationship that we cannot break that. But from the other, somebody as a friend, yes, friend is as mentioned that Sukrita, Mitra, all are there, right? So that's the real meaning of it. But if the friend is taking advantage of it, then you should also understand that he is making you a fool, you know. So then you should respond accordingly and appropriately. In the case of a boss, yes, he has the authority over it, but as we know that the laws and rules and regulations in this country, right? Why they are
It doesn't
brought up
work
this
that way,
way?
Prabhu.
No, no, no.
And
Let me
practically
finish.
speaking, it doesn't work. You
No,
could
no,
go
let me
into a
finish.
swing.
No, 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 let me finish. The reason for that, it is, they all know that, everybody knows that it's against the law, it's against the etiquette, it's against the principles of everything. But if some person comes up with like that, yes, we may, as a devotee, we may not go extend or further, but there is nothing. That doesn't mean that's humility. One time in New Vrindavan, Mataji was saying that in the shop it was showing that there is a wrong price. The idli was getting 2.50, but they were actually printing 4.50. They said, I'm going to call the cops. He said, that pointing out and making it in the right direction is the humility, and that is the right thing to do.
No,
So we
Prabhu,
should,
that example I don't think is
no, what
relevant
I'm
with
saying,
your boss. He's not a boss. When a boss, Madhupati Prabhu used to put tilak, and his boss was an Indian gentleman, incidentally. Now, by law in US, you could practice your religion. There is no one can stop you. Nobody, by law.
that
He
is,
told Madhupati Prabhu, remove your tilak.
yeah,
And Madhupati Prabhu, before going to work, would rub his tilak out. And then he said, it is better for me. Of course, you can go and sue and do that. What will happen is his promotion and everything else gets adversely affected. By
that is,
law, we can go that. So that example of the storekeeper, Prabhu, is again, there's no relation. That storekeeper is not an authority. But when it is a boss like Madhupati's boss who told him, don't wear tilak, the law is there to protect Madhupati Prabhu.
that is harmless actually. That is not blaspheming. That is just a convenience. That's what is, we have to be come to the level of understanding. Like, it's not blaspheming. It is a convenience that if some, it may actually impact the others or some other people. Some, that's better actually. So that's right. That's the right thing. If boss doesn't like that, but that is not the blaspheming. Something is coming up with and telling the words against. That's wrong. But if somebody business boss comes up and say that, okay, this may be convenient, inconvenience for others, want some reasons for that we have to take it. So that's what is, it depends on what actually situation is. Removing the tilak, yes, agreed. That's fine. I mean, boss is saying, but the boss is coming up like that, your God is that, your God is this one. That is utter nonsense. That's such stupidity, and such things has to be controlled. Then because of that, if he's doing that one to you, he can do this to everyone. That's why the law against for it, right? So that should be curtailed. That should not be, kind of things like that. So that's what it depends on the situations,
Mm.
such examples or such things. That's, devotees should respond accordingly. So yeah, I mean, it's all depends on what is the situation is. Yes, but sometimes somebody is pricking your heart with these words of it. I don't think so that, devotee, if even if it is a boss, sometimes says we have to shut our mouth. But I don't think so that any person in this laws, then he can secretly, in our everyday, we are actually finishing this compliance and these materials of mandatory courses for the company. These kinds of things against the law, you don't need to tell directly to your boss. You can contact, you can complain to the HR, then HR will take care of those things. And this is serious crime against the serious things against any office. You don't need to worry about any of those things. This is our just a fear. But the company itself giving us this kinds of direction, that is somebody behave like that. Discrimination against you, your color, caste, creed, religion, anything. That if somebody, that's a manager should not do that. No point at all. Yes, that is the thing that person needs to know what to do. Second thing, in the case of a relationship, is that time, that he should know that what is the better way to deal with those things. Even it says that Srila Prabhupada, even your parents, you are against Krishna, even your parents is against you in your devotion, you should just keep away from those. You should not have any obligation to such people. So these are mentioned. So probably, we have to understand these facts because of Krishna is the ultimate, and that's Krishna. We feel faith. We have that strong faith in Krishna. Then Krishna is, everything for such devotees, and that is the highest realization and highest understanding. But then we start to compromise for our material benefits, and this, yes, time, place, circumstances, but it also depends on what kinds of situations. If it is blaspheming in the sense that it's against the law, and it's against the situations and against my belief, and this country gives that the freedom for everyone. If somebody comes up like that, it should definitely take action in such a way that, it should not affect you, because otherwise it will affect your faith. It challenges your faith. It challenges your everything. And that's, it's all depends for you. It's all depends on, how we take it. How do we see the situations? How do we, time, place, circumstances? Always, three things are there always. Time, place, and circumstances. Should be always.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Okay, I think it's...
I hope I wasn't being offensive. Please forgive.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Thank you for the answers, Prabhuji.
Sorry, Subal Prabhu, we forgot you're the one who was on the Vyasasana.
There's a long discussion.
And nobody was talking. Look what he started.
Actually, anybody else has any comments? I think Madaji Madaji asked the questions. I mean, you're okay. I just didn't hear from you. Yeah.
Oh, yes, perfect, Prabhuji. And actually, I have dealt with situations like this, with, again, like seeing the relationship, and then, like if there's delicacy of relationship, like somebody in the in-laws saying it, just don't argue, keep your mouth shut, And so I totally agree, time, circumstance and all. And also what I just wanted to say real quick was, I used to become defensive, but as I matured in age and in my spiritual, this thing, the humility came in, and a better dealing with, like I was better able to deal with this. I became more tolerant. I used to become very defensive, and it didn't help. I used to start talking loudly, in defense of Krishna. But that was not very helpful because it ruined my peace of mind. So now I know I can deal with it in a better way. And again, looking at what, is it my mom questioning? Is it somebody in my in-laws? Again, you have to look at the relationship, the time and circumstances. So yeah, thank you so much. I totally agree. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Pooja.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay. Anything else? Okay, so tomorrow the fast breaking time, 6:51 to 10:59. In between you can break the fast. Then Saturday, as I mentioned earlier, Adhivas, and Sunday is Gaura Purnima festival. And please register if you are not registered, because of there is a time slots, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, 6 to 7. And then if anybody would like to do some service or some sponsorship, like Abhishek is there, flower, the Rajbhog and entire event, so likes that. So please do so. And yeah, we'll see you tomorrow then. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhasya.
Thank you, Subal Prabhu. Thank you, everyone. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
everybody.
Prabhu.
Hare